Hello, everyone, and welcome to Human Heredity. This is a class where we're going to be talking a lot about humans and how it is that we pass on our genes and things that at least partly make us who we are. So this class is titled Human Heredity. So it seems like a natural starting place to just ask, what is heredity? What does that word mean? So a simple way of understanding it is just the study of how traits are inherited. And what is a trait? So trait is just referring to a characteristic that we have, like it can be your eye color, your hair color, or if your hair are curly or straight. It could be your skin color. It can be whether you have the widow's peak, on your forehead, or how tall you are, or your likelihood to develop a disease because of your genetic makeup. So those are all examples of the traits. And I'm trying to put it in a simple understanding why you look at least a little bit like your family. Most families, they have some characteristics or traits that helps you know that there's a resemblance in this family, so they must be related. So the study of heredity will also talk about maybe why that can be part of um it's not just that you resemble with your family. It can also be sometimes there are questions about why this person is not resembling the family. So you can be looking really like your family, or you can be looking completely different. So those things fall under human heredity. So that's basically what we're talking about here. Of course, if we look at pictures of our families, you can often see the different families resemblance as we look from parent to children. Here's another one. So some cases in this picture, in the left, you can see everybody has red hair. So somehow the red hair gene was passed through the family picture. So it was passed through the family, and this picture is showing that. And then the picture on the right here, seeing so what we referred as interracial. So we will refer this as interracial family or multiracial family. So you can see that one of the things that we notice most thoroughly about the people is their skin color. And that may be that, we can talk about whether that's a, good thing, or it's definitely something that most people are aware of. So that's one of the first things maybe you can notice when you look at somebody. So in this case, both of the children of the family have skin color that looks like it's an intermediate between the two parents, and that's something that can happen too. So we'll talk about that a little bit too. One example, this was interesting. So these are two twins. So these are twins, sorry. These are twins, and these are fraternal twins, non-identical twins, but they're twins. They're born at the same time, at the same day, to the same parent, same mom. And either of them they don't have any genetic disease or condition. It's because the reason they look different is because their parents were multiracial, meaning that I think in this case, at least one of the parents had a white parent and a black parent, and then these would be the grandchildren of that generation. So just the way the genes were transmitted, you can see the children really look different from each other. And because we notice the skin color and the hair color, those are some things that we notice first. And um, these two are often thought to not even be related, as opposed to being actual twin siblings born at the exact same time to the exact same parents. So kind of interesting thing. Of course, it was such a surprising thing. It made the news, and there have been many cases when that can happen. So we'll talk about a little bit why that is and how things like this can occur, even if it's surprising. And a big part of talking about heredity is going to be talking about the parents and the life cycle. So we're going to talk about the whole basic human life cycle. This is a cartoon version of the pictures, kind of simplified, It's a little bit easy to understand. And it kind of shows basically the life cycle of humans. There are two parents, and in this modern world, families can look all different, but you can have two moms or you can have two dads in some cases, maybe even more parents than that. But the reality is that biologically, we still are making babies with a mom and a dad, so sperm and egg. So that's the biological basis of a baby making. So that's why mostly we're going to be talking about the sperm and the egg. That's not to say anything negative about or otherwise about the families that look different. It's just, it's not just mom and dad, but biologically speaking, that's how the babies are being made, with the mom and dad, with the egg and sperm. So at this point, one egg, one sperm will come together. They will be carried by a female body person who will eventually give birth to a baby. Babies will become children, and children will become adolescents. Adolescents will become adults. And then the cycle can potentially start all over again. And we're going to be talking about different aspects of this, but especially focusing on the part of the egg and the sperm. That's going to be a big part of that. So we'll talk about the development into the babies. Here's a picture of the egg and the sperm. So just to kind of put this in perspective, the egg is the huge round ball here, and all these are sperms. And so it's a dark color thing in the background, and it's kind of major focus of this picture and is the egg cell. You can see how little hairy looking things, the sperms, where they have just really the cell, they're really small compared to the egg. So they have this long tail. That's how they move around. And the egg is huge compared to the sperm. So that has some impact on the inheritance and heredity. So we'll talk about that at some point in this class, but we'll see here. So in this week's module, we'll talk about what male and female really means. And I know these terms have bigger meanings in the society, but we'll talk about them from a biological perspective. Later, we'll talk about the differences between how, we talk about male and female biologically versus socially. But here, the female is the term given to an individual who makes the eggs, the large gamete, the dark one, big one in this picture. And the male body person is the one makes the sperm. So the eggs, the large gamete, typically is in a biological setting, that gamete will stay within the body of the individual, at least in case of mammals, even birds and things like that. But in the case of male biologically speaking, again, the male body person is the individual that's producing lots and lots of sperm. So the big difference is female is usually producing one large egg cell when male is producing literally millions of little tiny sperm cells. So that's how we define male and female throughout biology and of all kinds of different species. So whenever there's a distinction or difference between the size of the gametes, the product, the number that are made, we use the term male and female. We're also going to talk about the process, how the egg and sperm will come together, make a baby. Here you can see a human attached to it, the umbilical cord to the placenta inside of the sac called amniotic sac. So we'll talk about the whole process of development during the semester 2, and that'll be a place for us to stop this video, and I will continue in the next video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be breaking the weekly content into multiple videos. So it's not just one really big long video that you have to sit down and watch. So it's going to be smaller size videos that you can watch when you have time. So I'll pick up in the next video that'll be posted on Canvas.